so much for having me here today. It's a great honor for me to join all of you. And today we're going to talk a little bit about AI in government. And what does that mean for businesses, startups, and everyone else that is involved in AI. And really the importance of regulation and how those policies are built.
Oh, yeah. Senator, please.
And so,
Thank
you to TiEcon 23. This is an amazing event, and I was cruising over all the speakers and all the topics being covered, and it's quite incredible. As someone who came into the mayor's role, looking at and leading on innovation and technology, seeing our city as being one that for some people was still being considered like a small town, and we weren't. With a population of over 320,000 people, with some of the best innovative and technology companies based and headquartered in our city, we needed to do more. And so what I set out doing was I created the Innovation Council. And that brought together the CEOs of some of our big corporations. It brought together our venture capitalists, our developers, our educational institutions, to really come together and figure out why we're experiencing a brain drain. And that was happening because a lot of new ideas were starting up in Irvine and in our region in Orange County, but they were being picked up by investors from outside the region. And so, of course, the businesses went along with wherever the investment was coming from. And so having the money and the investors and the will to make sure that we were supporting our local startups, we set out a goal to make sure that we were going to reinvest in our communities and make sure that we were going to provide resources and support for new ideas that were emerging from within our city and within our region. And so right now, we're developing an MOU with folks of Sunstone Management, and it is to develop an accelerator. And we really want to make sure that when people come up with an idea and they need a place to go and resources, it's a one-stop shop for them, where they can get connected with everything that they need to become successful and thrive. Not only that, but for our city, we were one of the first to allow a piloting of an automated vehicle program on our streets. Pony AI came to us, wanting to know if they could use our streets to pilot their autonomous vehicles. And we said, yes, let's do it. And then, of course, Amazon came in and they wanted to pilot their little delivery robots in our neighborhoods. And we said, yes, let's do it. And that's the kind of attitude you want from government. Government that is working in partnership with innovators and in partnership with the business community, making sure that we're not going to know all the answers, but together we're going to be able to take the right steps to make sure we're progressing and not becoming stagnant. And so that's very, very important to me, is to make sure that I'm asking my colleagues, whether they're at the city, state, or federal level, to really stay in touch with the innovators and the movers and shakers in their region, because you guys are the ones that are really driving what's coming up next. And we have to be ready to be able to support that. So I want to start off with what's really important and really exciting right now is on October 30th, President Biden signed the Executive Order 14119 entitled Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy Development and Use of Artificial Intelligence. And this was exciting because we didn't think anything like this was going to come forward. But now we have 8 elements within this executive order that you see on the screen up there. And I want you guys to focus a little bit on the trends that we're going to be seeing when it comes to government and AI. I think one of the biggest issues that government is worried about is making sure that new technology is safe, that it basically safeguards privacy. It takes into the human effect, making sure that we're looking at workers and then promoting jobs for them, not leaving them behind. Because in the past, we've had all these revolutions, and what has happened is a group of people that could not move along were left behind. And so right now, taking this proactive step, we need to make sure that as we're transitioning into areas that are new, what are we doing for those that might be losing their jobs to automation? Are we getting them trained and certified in what's coming up next? Are we enabling them with the resources they need so they can move along with us? And I think that's going to be very, very important as we're progressing in that direction. And then, of course, equities and civil rights. Because many, many times in the past, we've seen new policies be developed, systems get created that were designed to leave people out, that were designed to target certain communities. And with this new proactive approach, we want to make sure that as AI is developing within any sector, that we're not doing the same things we've done in the past. Because we work really hard for everyone's civil liberties to make sure there was equity across the board. And we don't want to take that step backward. We want to make sure that we're progressing, keeping that in mind. And that's something for new startups and even existing ones to keep in mind as well, because I think as these regulations roll down to the local level, we're going to be seeing the same thing, is asking companies, asking those that are established, what are you doing to safeguard civil liberties, to make sure there's equity when you're hiring, equity in development, equity when you're building that software program, accessibility for people. These are all things that are going to be important for us to move along. And then, of course, the use of AI in government, right? There is so much opportunity. I was just in Barcelona, I think weeks back, at the Smart City World Congress, and where we had over 106 countries sending delegations to not only talk about what they were doing within their cities. I was one of 5 mayors selected from the U.S. Delegation, but also to meet with companies throughout the world and see what kind of programs they were building to help us do our job better, to make sure that when we're talking about emergency response, we're doing it in a way that exceeds what we do now, exceeds the expectations of those that are receiving, at the receiving end. And of course, looking at ways that we can create our cities in a more equitable way. Building, housing, streets, transportation, environment, all of these come into play. And the government has a huge role in working with all of you to make sure that the programs and services that you're developing are going to be able to be accessible, not only for the general public, but also for government agencies. So a lot of the work that's being done now through this executive order is based on the health sector, right? And so there's going to be a lot of policies coming out from the Health and Human Services Office at the federal level. And the important thing to understand are some of the timelines that are here. But I also want to share with you guys that currently public comment is being sought out from you through December 5th. Basically, anyone involved in AI, there's a survey out there about the federal government that is seeking input on where we go with these policies next. So if you are involved in AI in any form, I would suggest you look up the federal, called the Federal Survey on AI, same thing about Jake Jones. So if you Google that up, you have till December 3rd to provide input. I think it's very important to have industry input, and industry input from a wide variety of industries. Not just those that are in touch with what's happening in DC, but those that are here on the ground, right here locally in Orange County. But also some of the, did I just go somewhere else? So some of the dates that you see today that are building on the strategic plan, that are building on the task force, all of these are going to be focused on the health sector. So whether it's medical devices, whether it's software, whether it's hardware, whatever it may be, there's going to be a lot rolling out in the next few years. And I think if you're involved in that, please let me know. I'd like to connect you with folks in Orange County. That we have a district health and human services department in Orange County that I'd love to connect you with. That can do important for you guys to get at the table when decisions are being made. Because what I'm hearing right now is a lot of decisions are being made on the DC side, they're not really, it's not what's going on here. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get engaged and provide input. And one of the ways we're doing that is bringing the Health and Human Services District Director into Irvine and having a roundtable discussion. And so I know my contact is available for you, but if you are interested, let me know. I'd love to have you at a seat at that table because, you know, if we are not driving the conversations, then the conversations are being driven by others. And then we're going to be left behind. Then policies come down, and then we all moan and groan about, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Well, here's your chance to be a part of that. And I cannot stress this enough to folks, is, you know, there's this saying in politics, and I think it applies to everyone, that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're basically on the menu, right? So don't be on the menu, is what I'm saying. Grab that seat at the table and make sure that you're involved. Because sometimes we get so caught up in our business lives, we're innovating, we're coming up with new stuff, and we're, you know, in our circles of businesses, that we kind of just stayed in this bubble. And then things come at us, and we're sitting there, and we're like, wait a minute, where did this come from? But there is a process, and you need to be a part of that process. So you need to make a little bit of time to get involved in government. Because again, if you don't, we're going to be making regulations that may not work for you. And so with that, I'm going to talk about what's coming up next. What can you expect as we're moving forward? And one of those things is, you know, public policy, when we look at it from a government perspective, public policy is so important. And people don't realize that when we build public policy at the local level, it affects you directly. And just a week ago, I had a council that was talking about banning plastics throughout the city. And it stirred up everyone. We had people from state organizations, from nationwide organizations, coming in, calling in, wanting to meet, because it affected them. It didn't just affect them on the top, but it affected everyone down the line. And we didn't end up passing that because the presenter of that ordinance didn't really do their job getting connected with the community and kind of looking at the cost impacts, looking at how it would affect everyone in the city, from those that are at the receiving end to those that are producing. And so, same thing with AI and policies. I know that as we get regulations from the federal government, they get a little bit shifted and changed at the state level. They come down from the county, they come down to the cities. And our job at the city level is to make sure that all of our businesses are heard and that all of them feel like they have a space where they can thrive. But we can't do that without you. And so, you know, I emphasize joining in, kind of keeping in touch. And we've got some great organizations. I know I saw Scott Fox somewhere. He's outside the door. I know I saw him. But he runs an amazing OC Startup Council. And he's providing information. And we've got the Asian Business Association of Orange County here, CASE is here, does an amazing job in helping our local businesses understand what's happening in government, what's happening at the local level, and how they can get connected. But the most important thing is, you know, keeping in mind as new technology, as AI is coming forward, where's the human component in all of this? Because I'll tell you on the flip side, when we talk to individuals, they're not talking about new software programs that are going to help our cities or help our businesses. They're not talking about the potential of artificial intelligence. They're talking about robots taking over. And that's an absolute fear for them. And so it's our job to educate them on where we're headed, what we're planning on doing, and that we're not here to replace them. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to that are always like, you're pushing for AI and you want us to be replaced by robots. And I'm like, I do. Where are these robots? I think it's important for us that when we're developing, that when we're creating, that we keep in mind the communities, that we're bringing them in a way where they feel comfortable, they feel like they are understanding what is happening, because there's a group of people that get it, but there's a larger group that just doesn't get it. And those are the people we need to touch. And so my ask from you is, stay connected, make sure you are working within your communities and outside, and also be able to share updates that you have. Educate the community. Let them know, I'm not an expert in AI, but I am an expert in policy and committees. And so what I can do is when I read something, I can translate it into ways that people can understand it and not be fearful. Because I don't want them to be fearful, I want them to be excited, I want them to see the potential. But when they keep hearing about loss of jobs, when they keep hearing about, what's going to happen next when robots are police officers, there's a really, really substantial fear there. And it's our job to make sure that that does not grow, because you don't want to divide a community. We want us to be moving together and forward in a way where everyone's intuitive. So again, certification, education on the human level, how can we procure and make sure that our people are ready for the next stage of technology? And then of course, how do we keep privacy intact? How do we make sure our civil liberties and equities is at the forefront of everything that we're developing? And finally, it's, showing people that there's nothing to fear. I think that's one of the most important things that we can do. And of course, one more thing, of course, is we've got to change up our Congress and U.S. Senate a little bit. Have you ever heard the questionings that go on? Just the type of questions that are being asked of industry leaders are so behind that, we can see what's happening at the Department of Health and Human Services. We can see what's going to happen at the Office of the Budget and Economy. We can see the work that is going to be done by those that get it. But what the policy needs to be voted on, we need people that get it there too. So stay in touch with folks in the government. Make sure that you're educating them along the way so they know how to progress an item forward. We see so many regulations that get killed because people just don't understand it. And they don't have the time to understand it. So it's our job to go out there and make sure that your job to make sure that you're reaching out to those that are in office, educating them on what you're working on, what's coming up next, so that when they're presented with something that they don't know, they can have someone they can reach out to. They can pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what I'm being presented with, what do you know? And you can be the experts that they rely on. And I think that connectivity is what's going to drive AI for the next 5, 10, 15 years. But if that connectivity is broken, then we're going to have great ideas coming forward, but are never going to be delivered. And that's where we don't want to be, because then we start to see chaos everywhere. Everyone wants to do whatever they want. No one wants to be regulated. People are fighting each other. And at the end of the day, we stop progress. So I want to thank you all so much for giving me this time to share with you the perspective of government and policy when it comes to AI. I really appreciate TiEcon 23 for having me here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. In the other minutes, so if there's any questions out there at all? Looks like we have a couple in the back. We've got about 10 minutes for questions.
Thank you very much. I was looking up the Federal Survey on Artificial Intelligence, and it doesn't exist. And Private on Federal Survey on AI doesn't exist. There's a number of companies like very well-known consulting companies.
Are you ready?
They're talking about the kind of anything governance like oriented.
Okay, I will
Send them to the office.
I will absolutely. I will do that for you guys.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hi. So next year is going to be election year. While we all get worried about the national elections, I think local elections are more important. How worried are you? And I'm from Orange County, so it bothers me and it affects my life. So question here is, how worried are you of AI causing any disruption or any deepfakes which affect the local elections?
I'm not too worried about local elections. I think we have a lot of security when it comes to not only our voting methodologies, or that chance voting methodology, but also the machines that we're using. If you go to the Orange County Registrar of Voters, which basically covers elections that are happening in Orange County, you will see that they are constantly meeting with local law enforcement, with the FBI, with government agencies to make sure that their security systems are in place, intact, and if there's any sort of a threat, they get to hear about it first.
So the question was that we influence the social
Media
Oh,
influence.
social media, oh God.
Yeah, before, in campaigning,
Yeah.
right? So that can be a
that's hard
factor.
to stop, and I think that's something that's going to continue to grow until we figure out how do we get a grasp, a hold of it. Because again, freedom of speech versus what do we control, right? It's a slim balance right there. So I don't have any good answers for you right now.
Ahoy, Mayor. Brian Follen from the UCI Entrepreneur Center. And being mayor of Irvine and knowing how exciting UCI is with 500 faculty member and a bullish approach to AI, are there things that the city is working with the university and maybe other universities around? As far as that groundswell you talked about, getting the business owners at the table. Universities don't want to be on the menu. I'm curious how you're involving them in that.
Absolutely. So all of our educational institutions, including UCI, are a part of my innovation council. And I've been working very closely. I work very closely with the chancellor, with the business school, with the Beal Center. And one of the things that I'm working on right now is finding a track, funding a track within the UCI's entrepreneurship program that Stefan Green runs, and making sure that there's a track that is open for the city. So city people that are not a part of UCI, that are interested, can participate as well and join UCI students and others in coming up with ideas. But I was able to be a part of that last year, and it is incredible. So yes, I'm fully connected with UCI. And you guys are doing an amazing job there.
What's that question?
Hi, Farrah. My name is Sai. First of all, thank you. I'm a Irvine resident, so thank you for all your guidance and leadership. I'm curious about what particular use cases of AI are you trying to deploy in Irvine? One of the use cases which always troubles me, I think, which we could do is crime, and figuring out how best to handle that. So I'm just curious, is there anything else or anything you guys are doing there?
Absolutely. We're working with the city of Cincinnati. They just deployed an AI program within their police department that helps them kind of figure trends and, how do I say it? They basically have a program that predicts what might be coming into their city. And so I know our IPD, I've connected them with theirs, and they're looking at that project. But most recently, the city got awarded $2 million from the state to start a real-time crime center. And that's going to be the next step in making sure that we are getting real-time information, not just from within our city, but from within our region, from the FBI, from other sources, to make sure that when we're going on a call, that our officers are equipped with all the information they need, and also that same data can be used to trend what's happening in our city and how we can prevent criminal activity in our city as well. So that's definitely a big part of it, and there's a lot going on right now. And cybersecurity is a part of that as well.
The question would be.
Hi, my name is Iris, and I'm a PhD student from UC Irvine. So currently I'm majoring in software engineering, and our research is including AI powered in education level, specifically for healthcare and programming. So I want to know, are you planning some extension and outreach programs connecting school research and local communities? Because from your speech, you mentioned we should bring the community together and bring human level to this AI age. So I want to know, what's your plan to connect the ongoing research and the people together?
Absolutely. So what we do, and I know there's a study that I was reached out to more recently that was very specific to a demographic in our city. And I made sure that I worked with the team there to connect them with resources and organizations that work within those demographics. But I think it's really part of communicating, letting us know where we can be helpful and us doing our job to make that connection happen. So it's the more we communicate, the more we know where our needs are and how we can bring people together. And I think that's going to be an ongoing effort for many, many years to come.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah, take Thank you for your time, Mayor Khan. It's such a pleasure to see someone who gets it. It's very refreshing. I spent a good part of my tech career trying to talk to people like you who just didn't get it all. It's part of why I lost most of my hair. But that being said, so I spent all the time advising startups, did it tech almost 30 years now. And one of the things I always think about is whenever you build some technology that relies on data, there's an old say, garbage in, garbage out. But also, if you don't have access to the data, you can't build any up, right? So it's kind of a two-part question. So the first part is, what are your plans in terms of making more data accessible to build these solutions that can make informed? And the second one is, I'm really thinking about as we start to get the rents down. But once we hand this over to a larger system that's controlled, then the risk multiplies. And I'm curious, how are you guys looking at risk in this equation? So that's all.
So thank you for that. One is, you mentioned data, and one of the things that a lot of our cities are behind is measurement data. And so we're working on that right now, is how do we capture the data that we need and kind of leave out the data that we don't need. Because when we first started and we were like, hey, we want to be a data expired city, we want to make decisions based on data, there was so much data that basically drowned us. And so now it's like, coming up with ways that we pull all that we need. But not only that, but one of the things that we're hoping to incorporate into our city is overlapping of data from not only the city, but then the counties. So we want to be able to look at a map in our city and be able to tell where the air quality is not doing so well. But that's managed by the South Coast Air Quality Management, which is not a state government operation, right? So we need some data from them. And then it's working out a deal with them saying, okay, we don't want any of the data that you feel is private for you. We just want data that we'll publicly share as well. So instead of putting it on the website saying, hey, air quality is bad in this area, we want to be able to extrapolate that and have it in our hands that we can put it out into our community right away. So there's going to be a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations around what is private and what is public, what can we share, and what level of sharing are we comfortable with. And so once we get to that level, I think we'll see a lot more expand. And then when it comes to government sharing with individual interested or business entities, that's going to be a whole other conversation. So I don't think we're there yet, but we are heading in that direction.
That's the one.
Super, thank you. Thank you once again.